Hi there, it's Paulie here. Haha, back from travels. But not without some loot. So, Mr. Snoots and I have travelled far. Yay! Now, while we were travelling, I was keeping an eye out for products from the Indian games industry. I had been told that there wasn't much of an industry of board games, role-playing games, miniatures games, etc. for local Indian consumption. It's just not a thing there. It just isn't. And I have to say, I travelled through so many locations. I didn't see a single hobby shop the way we would understand it at all. But in a bookstore that was aimed at entirely for selling to tourists, mind you, I did find a game made by an Indian studio. Now, this is called Yudh Bhoomi. For those who don't speak Hindi, which is going to be basically everyone, Yudh Bhoomi, our rough translation would be war land, so battlefield. I speak a tiny bit of Hindi from all those years of dancing Bollywood. Mia toli Hindi omi home. But anyway, so this is actually rather a good little skirmish game on an Indian theme. It's done by a group called Mosaic Games. I gather Mosaic Games are trying to be like an Indian design bureau that's making things to try and come out into a general international audience. So for export, but I like the Indianness of it. So what we've got, substantial box. In the box we have, yahoo! We have a rule book, and it's not too thick and complex. We have a modular set of maps which fit together into a fortress. There's night and day sides. It fits into quite a large fortress. The fortress has two main gates, and it's got a couple of minor gates. There is an inner palace within the walls. So inside that palace, say this is a palace internal section, you can see it has wall sections, and it occasionally has outbreaks of things like pillars. So there's only one way to assemble a board. But also in here we have standees, a substantial amount of standees. We have action cards and so forth, and we have a collection of the stands on which to place your standees. Some special dice. The dice are marked with crosses, circles, and triangles. There are enough standees here to make this a 4-player game. And we have a series of counters here. These counters are used for tracking damage on your pieces, and also there are some objective counters, sometimes treasures, sometimes kind of flags representing military objectives, and also people, because you could be trying to rescue the princess or whatever. So how this works? Well, you've got, this is quite a cute little game of resource management. It's pretty simple, but pretty fun. I have to say, they've done a good job on, the rules are all in English obviously, they've done a good job on it, but there was a couple of times where I had to read it with kind of a Hindi grammar in mind. Hindi is a bit like Japanese in that the verb at the end of the sentence goes. Yeah, you could blink a moment as you're trying to figure out what this sentence means, but anyone with an intellect higher than, like, slime mold will figure it out in seconds. So what you do is you set up your cool little board. There are a number of scenarios here that you can choose, but essentially your board sets up into the palace. There are a number of different scenarios you can choose from. They've got multiplayer simple ones, they've got some quite complex ones, they've got kind of seize the military objective ones, they've got looting ones where you're busting into this fortress and attempting to loot it. He who gets out with the most cash wins. All kinds of things, choose it. And they've also got a very cute thing, a campaign in here, which is actually sort of based on history, and I really like the illustrations. These are their the illustrative art that they've used for it. So yeah, now there are different types of soldier that you can have in the game. So we have mounted swordsman, my personal favourite, a elephant mounted archer. We've also got, we've got oh, here you go, sorry, here's our hot princess. You've got spearmen, you've got generals, you've got foot swordsmen, you've got foot archers, you've got foot spearmen. So, at the start of a game, everyone is given a set of 6 of these cards here. Face down, they're only for you to see. Now what these cards do is they have things like enhanced defense, enhanced attacks, enhanced movements, or there are some special strategies in here, like they allow you to do things like scale palace walls without using the stairs. You know, you brought grappling hooks with you or whatever, you play it once and discard it. Yeah, enhanced attack, extra moves, quick recoveries, you can heal characters that have been damaged, minor action, you can get an extra action, or you can mirror dice that have been rolled by your opponent. You can make wounded soldiers retreat. Sharpshooter, you can, you know, add extra range to archers, etc. So, you know, again, relatively simple little tactical cards. This is not a complex game, but you know, as such, it's actually fun. So, when it is your turn, you will roll those special dice, but you have to choose how many you're going to roll. You can choose, you've got 5 dice to roll. You can choose to forego rolling 2 dice to recruit a soldier. You choose what sort of soldier you are going to take. Or you can say you will roll no dice, 5, and you will recruit 3 soldiers. You can then roll dice. You can re-roll up to 3 times any of the dice that you have rolled. So if you get, you know, 4 noughts and you're looking for triangles this time, alright, you can pick up the noughts and re-roll them. You can only do it 3 times. You decide if you're playing any special cards. Now, the triangles are movement. Each triangle that you end up with on your dice is used to move one of your soldiers. Each soldier type has its own movement. The infantry all basically trundle along at 2, the cavalry can trundle along at 3. The elephant's actually slow, the elephant only goes 1. Each additional triangle you can move an extra unit. There are some movement restrictions. Elephants and cavalry can only enter into the palace area through the main gates. They can't go through side gates. Only infantry can go in those. Elephants may not enter through doors in the palace and so on. Neither can, you know, cavalry. And of course cavalry and elephants cannot climb steps up onto the battlements of the fortress. Each troop type has a series of these little toughness discs. Whoops, sorry. Each of the little discs that they got represents essentially a hit that they can take. Each troop type takes a different number of hits. The elephant obviously takes a butt ton, the infantry not so much. The foot archers and the elephant archer can attack at a fair range. It's on a square board. You can go diagonally, you have to be able to draw line of sight to target, but archers can attack out to 3. The spearmen can chuck their spear out to 2 squares away from themselves. But each square distance lowers the power of the attack by 1. Power of the attack. The X's that you've chosen, those are attack strength. So the damage that you do whenever one of your characters sort of attacks is going to be based on the attack strength. You can attack anyone that you've moved up to. The circles are your defense strength. If you're attacked before your next turn around, the defense dice that you've scored, you keep that score in front of you, and that's what the other guy has to beat in his attacks in order to cause you damage. So, for instance, in your turn, you might decide, I am going to, alright, I'm going to recruit one soldier. I'm going to recruit a maniac on an elephant, which I do. He appears at my entry point on the map. Bing! I've rolled 3 dice now. Alright, well, I get 1 move. Fine, I've only got 1 guy. And, you know, I might get 2 attack dice. Okay, alright, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my guy 1 whole square, because that's all my elephant can do. Bonk. I can move it multiple times sometimes, and my cards, I can play cards that will add to its movement, but typically it's going to plod its way slowly along. That's why, even though it's tough, it's like it may not be your best choice in many cases. If there is a guy within 3 spaces, I can fire my bow at it. Well, if I've rolled 1 movement and I've got like 2 attack, good. It'll do 2 base damage. But if I'm firing at maximum range, it'll be -1, so it's like, it'll be 1 base damage. So if I hit the guy, it'll remove 1 of those discs from under him. If he has some defense, then it'll ping off the defense first. So you're going to have to start using this resource of cards that you've got. Now, the cards, at the start of your turn, you can pick up cards. I think you pick up 1 card automatically. You can only ever hold 6 in your hand, but what you can do is forego rolling dice to pick up more cards. For each pair of dice that you decide you're not going to roll, you get an extra card. Unless you decide I'm discarding all 5 dice, you pick up 3 cards. That's always the rule. You can discard your whole dice roll for like 3 things. When characters are damaged, you can attempt to heal them. There's cards that will heal them. If a soldier is taken down to 0 toughness, it goes off the board, but it's not dead. You can heal it, and again, if you forego rolling 2 dice, you can heal something by 1 level. You can only heal 1 soldier by 1 level a turn, but again, you could forego rolling 5 dice and heal 3 guys by 1. There's always that kind of resource management choice. So on that basis, it's just a cute little skirmish game. Inside the palace, which is often where objectives will be kept, alright, you can't get your mounted troops in there. It's going to have to be swordsmen, spearmen, and archers. The swordsmen are tough, but they obviously can't attack at close range. However, they're the guys that you want to get into the built-up areas if you're trying to seize objectives, or rescue the princess, or indeed steal the princess. You might want foot archers because they can enter into those palace areas, and they can control some corridors and so on with their bows. The cavalry swordsmen are actually pretty fast moving, so you can sort of zoom them around fairly easily. However, they're limited as to how they can get into the palace grounds, and obviously they can only really ride around the palace. They can't get into it. The elephants are sort of big, boomy and scary. They can shoot, but they don't move very fast, so they're kind of like a plodding fire base that you use. Now, tactically, you can run infantry up onto the battlements of the fortress, in which case they don't get negatives to their strength for firing, and it's very hard to fire back up at them. You're not allowed to shoot at them unless you are similarly in an elevated position or you're on an elephant. So otherwise, you basically got to send guys up to chase after them. So the choice of what you recruit and how you do it are kind of useful. You can see people might start kind of with one strategy. They're going to start off recruiting, say, horsemen who are going to race forward to try and hold some positions for them, and then they're going to try and recruit a whole bunch of infantry to run up and kind of consolidate, and then they might realise that they're getting the living stuffing beaten out of them because they've spent too much on recruiting and not enough on cards to support the guys they've got. So it's a very simple resource management game. As a skirmish game, yep, played it. It was fun. It's an interesting thing. The 4-player version does make delightful mayhem because everyone's running around doing stuff, and of course the hey, look, I'll cover you while you get that, and then you let me run over here. Yeah, the usual shenanigans can come in. This is like, I'm interested by it because it's from a games company that's trying to get out there into the international market. They've obviously got some finance. These are well made. We've got lots of cool custom wooden components and so on. They've done a really good job. So they're trying to keep this, you can see what they've got in their head is Eurogame. They're trying to make this a Eurogame. Relatively simple, clear-cut rules that have a lot of space for tactics and replay. That's what they're looking for. And that's what they've done. This is a good skirmish game. It's easy to teach, but it was actually surprisingly fun and flexible because of the way you're trying to figure out how to use those limited dice resources that you've got. I kind of appreciated their historical campaign told with really cool cartoon art. With some cool Indian princesses involved. There are a lot of Indian warrior women, by the way. A lot of there. It's really nice to see some Indian history getting out there into games. I'd like to see more as kind of an enthusiastic student of Indian history as well as other things. Good to see it. So, hoping to see a lot more from these guys. They are, like I said, from the catalogue, they're definitely focused on that whole Eurogame kind of idea, but that's something that we're interested in. That's our all gaming is our realm, chaps. So it's good fun. Go look for it. They do have a website up, but I think this might be sneaking into some mainstream games stores. Certainly other stuff by Mosaic Games is going to be worth seeing. So Yudh Bhoomi, yeah, good one for kids, good one for some fun at the games club if you just want to like beat the living snot out of each other for a half hour to 1 hour game. And I was glad to see it, and we will keep looking for cool stuff to review for you. It was a long and interesting journey to India. I learned a lot. 6 weeks climbing all over the place. I explored labyrinths under deserted temples, and I climbed mountains and quite literally battled foes hand to hand. No, I'm not joking. So I survived, and we will see you guys around the gaming table sometime. Until then, look after yourselves, and spread a net to look for the unusual in gaming. Unusual sources and so on. I'm very pleased to see our hobby spreading because diversity is strength. Anyway,